Hello, it's Coops and Farrell here on the Fulhamish Quick to Take. We are here at the, I have to say, beautiful Portman Road. It's a great stadium. It's good to be back here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is one, if you've been to Portman Road before, everyone always says, especially if you're coming from London, one of the better away days. And I'm so glad we were back. It's just unfortunate the performance and the result today wasn't as exciting as the surroundings we're in right now.
Yeah, we were just sort of talking as we were trying to find a scenic spot to do this quick take there. I don't know, I feel a little bit bent out of shape after especially that second half performance from Fulham. I think that Ipswich, although they were valiant and courageous in their sort of efforts, I don't think they were value for a win or even a point really, but then Fulham didn't really do much to warrant the 3 points either. It was one of those where, you know, they had a really, let's face it, a beautiful goal out of nowhere it was the lap, wasn't it? Just one of those that just sort of comes out of nowhere. It was on the 15th minute, and you just think, okay, there's plenty of time here. That was a really, really good, really good strike. But then after that, you know, we got back into the game. But it was the second half that I found most frustrating. I don't know. I felt like it felt from the moment that we took off Emil Smith-Rowe and brought on Sander Berge, it felt like we were going for a draw. Would you say that's a fair assessment, Faz?
I think overall, I think the part that you're saying around how but like Ipswich weren't necessarily good value for a win, I also don't think that Fulham were necessarily good value for a win either. So, you know, a draw probably overall was the right result, but it does feel a little bit disappointing in the sense that Fulham are now, could you really say it, a established Premier League team. And the talent that we are able to bring off the bench, they're all match winners that we've got at our disposal, whereas Ipswich are still finding their feet right now. You know, the transfer window is just shut, and Marco Silva's got all of those instruments to be able to change the game in our favour, and it just didn't necessarily work out that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like pound for pound, this Fulham side should really be looking. If you look at the quality that we have at our fingertips and the options that we have at our disposal, as you said, the options that we've got even coming off the bench, it felt like to me this game was there for the taking. It would have been a real statement, back-to-back wins so early on in the season, getting those points heading into the international break. I don't know, like you said to me, maybe when you under the cold light of day tomorrow morning on Sunday, when you look back at it, you think actually it was a fairly decent point, but I feel like this was an opportunity missed.
I think if you think about what time of year we're at, this is, you know, Ipswich's first game at home back in the Premier League after 26 years or whatever it is. You know, they're going to be right up for it. They were really determined. I felt that they man-to-man marked all over the pitch very, very well, stifled us trying to play out from the back a little bit, and every time we tried to play long, Muniz was not getting any value up there. And that was their game plan, and it worked, and it really stifled us. I don't think Marco really had an answer for that, which, you know, was kind of the story of the day. We weren't really able to, you know, create any real clear-cut chance. It was only from a very, very good cross from Anthony Robinson that fell at the feet of Adama Traore for a simple finish that was, you know, Fulham's only joy of the entire game.
And like casting my mind back to, you know, the entirety of the match, that was the only real clear-cut chance that we created. I can't think of a single time that the Ipswich keeper was troubled other than that goal. Can you?
I mean, he was troubled every time the ball, you know, Muric actually had the ball at his feet. You know, he spanked the ball out of play maybe like 4 or 5 times the whole game. But
didn't have to make any saves though.
No, it's true. To be honest, overall, I'm okay with this. I think picking up little points here and there is okay. We've already got a first win under our belt. 4 points from 3 games is still okay. You know, there are teams who have come up from the Championship. We might have expected a bit more. We are the squad. When you look at it, we've lost a lot of appearances from last year, and there are still players who are embedding in the system. You know, Emil Smith-Rowe, we know he's quality. We know he's going to be the star man in this team. He's still finding his feet a little bit. We know Marco's a tactical perfectionist. It's going to take him time to get used to everything. I mean, one of the biggest surprises to me is how effective Adama Traore has been the whole game. And also, Sasha Lukic, I thought, I thought he was exceptional today.
Yeah.
You know, put in a very, very solid defensive performance. And I think you can see that he's more comfortable in that role and is able not just to shield the defence really, really well, but actually progress the ball effectively, which is what we'll need going forward.
That will come. Yeah, Sasha Lukic, I thought was brilliant. His ability he's just an incredibly tidy footballer. As you say, he's mopping up sort of like loose ends in defence, and he's got that confidence that you can tell that the other players have full trust on him in the amount that they give him the ball, and he can turn. You know, he can control it within very tight areas and then just find the balls out wide, which it may not seem on face value like a really good pass. You know, we're talking small sort of 6-10 yard passes, but what they do is spark our momentum forwards, and he's an incredibly tidy footballer, and he's making a real, you know, we've obviously got midfield enforcements coming in and people knocking on the door for his place, but I think he made a really, really, really big claim to really like claim that centre mid position, and it's going to be very hard to displace him.
Especially since Ipswich did defend very well on the front foot, so you need to find those quality players who can find those 1-2s in the midfield in those tight spaces, and I think that Sasha Lukic was, you know, integral to getting Fulham up the pitch. It's just a shame that the players in front of him were not able to get the purchase that we would have really liked, and that's testament to Ipswich. Fair play. Defensively they were great. They'll obviously need a bit more in attacking to get more from this league, but the fact that, you know, they were able to stifle this Fulham team is a testament how well they played. Yeah,
as you said earlier, Muniz didn't really have much of a look in. He put in a very good shift as we come to expect from the big man, and you know, you can never ever knock his effort, and he showed real moments of class. I was thinking that it was a beautiful touch from a crossfield ball that he just managed to break it down, and it's those moments where you realise like how good a player we do have on our hands. But I just felt like, I don't know whether it was that he lacked the service that he required, but or the defensive strengths that Ipswich showed, but he did just sort of go missing for large spells. Were you surprised to see him get replaced by Raul Jimenez around the sort of like 6th minute?
I think it was. I was surprised it was as late as it was. Raul Jimenez was able to create a chance like later on, get a nice little shot away from a beautiful. I can't remember who that was. It? No, it wasn't Lukic. It was Sander Berger who played a lovely out.
It was interesting because he was within his own half, and we had the ball. We were just sort of clearing it. We had the ball in our third, and he was pulling his socks up, and I was screaming like, "What are you doing, Jimenez? We need you up top!" And all of a sudden he sprinted down. Sander Berger on the outside of his foot just played this sumptuous ball that set him off, and he had no support.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I found so frustrating. He had to go alone, and fair play to Raul Jimenez, he did get the shot off, and you know, he ran with it. You know, he cut inside, I believe, and fired one in. It was a pretty routine save from the keeper, but I'm thinking, who is there to support him? You know, we're 1-1 against the newly promoted side. Like, the game is there for the taking, and I don't know, there's part of the reason why I feel so frustrated with the second half performance is that there were opportunities. I feel like if we had a bit more, I don't know, attacking impetus, a bit more oomph, a bit more of a sort of motivation, and the crowd were brilliant. We were like really getting behind them. There was a bit of frustration, but I don't know, that for me, that move kind of sums up the second half in a nutshell. It's like, I just leaving Portman Road thinking, what if?
Yeah, and I think what typified it was when the injury time went up for 5 minutes, it became like a really chaotic game of football where, you know, the defences were, for both teams, were very, very, we need to make sure that we're not losing this game right here.
Yeah.
But then the attacking players from both teams became really panicky, and they were misplacing passes. Things were not clicking as well as they were, and it just created a really chaotic 5 minutes of football where both teams were trying not just to win the game but to make sure that they didn't lose it. And yeah, I think that probably both teams will come away feeling frustrated from it, but also okay with the fact that it's a point on the board.
It is a point on the board. Away from home, you can't in this league, you know, scare a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
I believe is the saying.
Again, we've said it quite a lot though. I do feel like some of the changes came a bit too late. I felt the fact that 20 minutes into the second half, we did have a bit of ascendancy. I did feel like we were pinning them back a bit more and more, and I felt the time was right for Harry Wilson to come on. The fact he came in with 5 minutes left of normal time, when you just know when Harry Wilson's picking that ball up on the wing, cutting inside, creating that little half chance to get a swing away, that's where he's at his best. And you're starting to see how much Marco has got his favourites in this team. I thought, again, it's a shame. I love Andreas Pereira. He's been central to what Fulham have been good in the last couple of years, but he had a very poor game today. And the fact he stayed on longer than Emil Smith-Rowe is kind of testament to how much Marco loves a player like him. I can see why the switch was made to push Pereira on. Like, you know, Smith-Rowe came off, Sander Berge came on, which meant that Pereira could play a bit more forward, but it just wasn't working for him. I just felt like the changes none of the changes actually changed the game in Fulham's favour.
Yeah, it happens. Let's talk quickly about Sander Berge coming on for Fulham. I thought I forget how tall he is. You know what I mean? You see him in the middle of the park, you think that it reminded me of, like, you remember when Hangeland used to do those marauding runs into the midfield, and you're like, oh, hello, you're a bit lost there. Shouldn't you be getting back to the D? But I thought he looked really assured. He didn't really have many opportunities to sort of like put his, claim on the game. But I feel like we're going to see him a lot more in the coming fixtures.
I think so. I think we all know what Sander Berge is like on the field of play. Like his exploits at Sheffield United and at Burnley are well documented. We've seen quite a lot of him. I haven't quite yet seen enough to say he's taken the place of Sasha Lukic. I've not really been hugely impressed with Sasha Lukic in that number 6 role throughout his career at Fulham, but today I felt really confident the fact he was there. So I think that Berger really needs to raise his game if he's going to be able to get that role in the midfield.
The thing that I liked about him is that you could see, obviously, like he's a presence, aerial presence in the middle of the park, but also just his ability to drive the ball forward, as we saw with that through ball to Raul Jimenez. Like he's it's just sort of an all-round central midfielder, but he just so happens to be about 7 foot tall and a real.
Tell me what that's like.
Yeah, I know, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? It would be nice. I thought shout out to Bernd Leno as well. He didn't really have. Ipswich didn't have too many clear-cut chances where you were thinking, oh, that's a goal. But he did make a very, very good save, thinking that early on in the second half, I believe. And when he was called upon, he was solid. There was a one-on-one chance as well that he blocked out very well. And he
literally
was
the best one-on-one keeper I think we've ever had. I must say, like, I did not. It was played through to Hutchinson. He was out like a flash, mopped it up, job done.
There was never any doubt that was going to be anything other than Bernd Leno's ball, was it?
No, exactly.
Yeah, so,
he does that time and time again. He's one of those keepers that just exudes this confidence because we've seen it so often that we're just so lucky to have a keeper like him.
So, from what you've seen of the new boys, we had a few little glances today, and obviously we've got Anderson, who didn't come on. Marco Silva opted to go with Diop instead, and we feel like Marco Silva as a manager does tend to, allow players who have their place the time and the. I don't want to say like it's theirs to lose, but he requires players coming in to prove their point. There's no instant, you're in the lineup. But I'm just interested to hear, Faz, what you think about the games. We've obviously got West Ham coming up, and do you imagine it's going to be a same lineup given what you've seen today, or would you expect to see some of our new players sort of slowly bedded in?
I think there's one particular one that we might see. I think the Anderson Diop switch might happen in the next game. I don't think Diop did too much wrong today defensively. I thought a lot of his passing, especially longer passing, was a bit wayward. And we know how Marco is like demanding of these players. You need to get it right every single time. And Diop didn't necessarily do that on the ball so much. Thankfully, they've been able to go out and get Joachim Andersen back, who we know is an absolutely sumptuous footballer with the ball at his feet. He's a sumptuously looking footballer as well. And we saw that with the assist the other night for Jay Stansfield as well, the dearly departed Jay Stansfield.
Yeah.
yeah, he's a classy footballer. I thought Calvin Bassey grew into the game a lot. He's been able to drive the ball forward. He kind of made the forwards for Ipswich look a bit silly from time to time, and I think that's the confidence that you can see, and the pace that he uses, the touch that he's got on the ball. And Joachim Andersen is very much the same player on the other side. As much as I really like Diop, and I'm not disappointed to have Issa Diop in the team, but we've got Joachim Andersen waiting in the wings. Apart from other players, I don't think we'll see too many changes coming up. Maybe we'll see a bit more of Reece Nelson.
That'd be interesting.
Especially with the international break coming up, they've got time on the training ground to work on him fitting into the system. I think it's a really lovely signing. The lot of versatility that we need in this team, because we've lost so many appearances from the squad over the summer. I think the squad is shaping up really nicely. As long as Marco stays, I think we'll be in a very good position.
I'm just waiting for when Reece Nelson comes in, the old Mike Bassett. Let's give it up for the Arsenal B team. but yeah, no, a very exciting footballer, and one I'm looking forward to seeing play. That's for sure. Yeah, I guess that's all. Is there any more parting words on the Ipswich game? I think just through talking out with you, Baz, I've kind of a lot of my frustrations seem to have floated away, and I'm now kind of feeling a bit more.
You can call me up any time if you're ever feeling a bit down
that.
about Fulham result. I'm more than happy.
Appreciate that, man. But yeah.
Nothing else to say. I mean, I know a lot of fans will feel frustrated coming on. I felt frustrated at the end of the game that we didn't create a lot more. But it's so early on in the season. I know that the season will go really, really quickly. But they would have been well up for this game. They didn't create a lot of chances. It was almost a goal out of nothing, but there's more than enough that I have seen so far this season to feel fairly confident about it. But I'll always have that Fulham small club kind of feeling that we're going to get screwed every single bloody week.
And fair play to Ipswich as well. They made it really tough for us today. Beautiful grounds, great to see them back in the Premier League. And this was the one when one of the away days where I was like, I have to be there.
Yeah.
Back to Portman Road. I haven't been here in 15 years, but yeah, it was a lot of fun, regardless of the slightly disappointing result. But we move. That's it for the quick take. Thanks very much for everybody who watched. This is Faz. I've been Coops. See you next time.
You whites.
You whites.